What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so of course, it was last week that former music mogul Diddy was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for, I guess, 2 counts of transportation to engage in trickery, and he has begun his prison sentence. Um, a lot of us feel like what he was charged for or found guilty of, I should say, the sentence doesn't match what he was found guilty of. And then people will say, well, he's a woman beater and he's a scumbag. Yes. But at the same time, I agree with those things. I've never disagreed with those things. The problem is he was never charged with those specific things. He wasn't charged with a count of being an asshole and more pertinently, being a woman beater. He was never charged with those things. He was charged with other things, which ultimately, for the most part, proved to be bullshit. And accused of things that ultimately proved to be bullshit, you know? And nah, Diddy won't no pro-black guy, you know? But neither was O.J. Simpson. So, I'm just sorry, like, I just almost never will I ever side with the government when they go after black men. I just can't do it. I just wish the government would have went after Epstein or some of the other people in the entertainment industry who are even worse than Diddy, but they're going to be protected. And that's why I just feel the way that I feel about the situation. Clayton Howard, a former escort who alleges he worked for Diddy during his infamous freak-off parties, went off on Cassie during a new interview with the Art of Dialogue. Shout out to the Art of Dialogue. Please subscribe to his platform. In doing so, he argued that she should also face criminal charges for her alleged role in Diddy's recent case. The bad boy mogul is, of course, serving 50 months in prison for 2 counts of transportation to engage in trickery. So I'm just going to say trickery. Howard began his comments on Cassie by addressing her letter to Judge Aaron Subramanian ahead of Diddy's sentencing. Quote, I heard parts of her letter to tell you the truth. Hearing the parts I heard about her still having nightmares and all of this, the trauma that was impacted on her life, she's going to feel it for years. But the truth of the matter is that she made a decision to undergo that trauma. I wasn't aware of the true nature of the situation. Now, what he's talking about is how many people she was actually involved with and how that put him at risk for, obviously, STIs. Daniel Phillip, he wasn't aware of what was really going on. That's another male escort. Jules Theodore, he didn't know about me or Phillip. The Punisher didn't know about me, Daniel Phillip, or Jules Theodore. But you know who knew about everybody in that situation? Cassie, because Cassie was letting all of us run up in her. He then continues, some of us ran up in her raw, lying to us, making us think she was the only one sleeping with us, and she was actually taking care of herself. The truth is, she was just I'm not going to say that term. The truth is, she was just a juice receptacle. And I don't want to be rude and mean by saying that, but any woman who would just randomly let strange men she's attracted to unleash the juice inside of her is a juice receptacle. That's what she was. I have no comment on that one, but he elaborated a little bit more. Just play a clip from our dialogue. Please subscribe to Art of Dialogue.
Based on the way things went, what do I think Diddy should got? based on the way this was handled, I think Diddy should have went home. That's the truth. I'm sorry, people are going to say, "How could you say that?" But they maliciously prosecuted him. They totally fabricated a narrative, and they tried to use these women's criminality and give them a get out of jail free card with a domestic violence incident to say they weren't co-conspirators, and I think that was wrong. So, in the interest of justice, I think Diddy should have went home. He should have got a program, some domestic violence counseling, and that should have been the end of it. Um, as far as Cassie getting time, I don't even think about her because me thinking about her getting time or getting charged is me being vengeful. I'm not after vengeance. I'm after justice. You did this to me. I want justice. I want it to be acknowledged that you did to me the same thing you're saying that Sean Combs did to you. Because the truth is, in those freak offs, he didn't make her have sex, but she made me have sex. That's a fact. She made me stand there and jerk my penis to the point where the skin used to break. That was her. No, come on, keep doing it. Come on, I like to watch it. You have such a beautiful dick. This is Cassie talking to me. Diddy wasn't sitting there doing this. Cassie was doing this. Diddy would be high on ketamine, passed out in the damn corner while she was doing some of this stuff. So Cassie should have definitely been more culpable than she actually was. The cards just didn't play like that. They granted her immunity for her testimony, so it wouldn't matter if I went to 100 precincts. She's never going to be criminally charged with this. The only chance I have, as we know, art as African Americans, is the civil courts. That's it. So I'm going to take my chances. She's never going to go to jail. I don't wish her jail, but I do wish she be held accountable, and I'm going to do my best to make sure she's held accountable.
And that's the thing that always bothers me about the Cassie versus Diddy thing, or the Cassie and Diddy situation, right? Is I'm not ever going to condone what Diddy did to her. Okay. Um, he should have been charged with that. But when I say this, people get tone deaf, they don't hear it. He should have been charged with that. And if he had did 6 months in prison or a year, even if that was excessive, I would have had no problems with that. My problem, and it's always going to be this, is the hypocrisy of the court system. And I don't want to hear this crap about, well, you're being naive if you think a black man's going to be treated. Well, I'm not going to sit up here and not complain about it. I'm not just going to accept secondary status, secondary citizenship. Well, I mean, us niggas is just lower. I mean, that's just the way it is. We got to deal with it. We don't just go to accept it, man. We ain't never going to be on it. We 3/5 of a human being. I'm not accepting that slave mentality bullshit. And we shouldn't have to accept that. A pastor who is in a position of you know what I'm saying, of esteem and high social standard in our society. Diddy is a rap mogul. I mean, he's in a position of society because of money, but his image has always been of sleaze when you really look at what he pushes, right? But a pastor, a person who's supposed to be, and a pastor of a huge church in Texas, recently found guilty of doing the unthinkable back in the 80s with a 7-year-old. 6 months in prison. And I don't see nobody outraged by that. Nobody. Nobody's outraged by that. And I've noticed over the past 30 years, and this is by careful observation, increasingly this country's become more protective of PDFs and more critical of black men about everything we do, who we date, what we look at, how much money we make, our viewing habits. I mean, how we look, how we dress, how much we weigh, how we cut our hair. Everything gets hypercritical, criticized when it comes to us. At the end of the day, Cassie and Diddy, to me, were in a toxic relationship. Both of them are drug addicts. Part of the reason why Diddy was so violent, in my opinion, part of the reason why he was so violent and unpredictable in his behavior, because he was a drug addict. And he further confirms that by saying Diddy was taking ketamine. Ketamine, you don't supposed to take that outside of the hospital setting. That's the same drug that unalived Matthew Perry. That's the same drug that's part of a new wave of people who have overdosed and have lost their lives by the thousands in this country. Ketamine is something that people take who are trying to get off of drugs. So this dude, Diddy, the best thing he could have had happen to him, ironically, is go to prison. So maybe all this was supposed to happen. Maybe this saved his life. That's how I look at this situation. And Diddy has done a lot of horrible fucking things to people. And a part of me should be like, fuck this guy, right? But it sounds to me like Cassie's done a lot of horrible things to people too. Didn't she threaten one of these guys that Diddy would unalive him if he didn't do what she asked him to do at one of these free calls? Aren't there messages, phone messages, where she's threatening people left and right, talking like a mob boss? But then when you bring it up, people want to use, well, she was Stockholm Syndrome. I don't want to hear that crap, man. Women are not children. You can't sit up here on the one hand and scream civil feminist movement and we're equal to men, blah, 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 and all this. But then when you want to be held accountable like an adult, when we demand all of the adult things that you have to do as an adult, or accountability, then you want to revert to being like a child. Oh, I'm just an innocent woman. I can't control my emotions. You can't hold me to the same standards. Mm-mm. That's my problem. And the thing is, in my own personal life, and I don't like to reveal too much on here, but I'm just going to be kind of vague. I've encountered women who were the aggressors when it comes to sex, right? But then to others, they want to make it seem like, the man or others are the aggressor. Because a lot of women, at least prior to this younger generation, they were very sensitive about being perceived as a 304, right? So I understand all of that. But don't act like Cassie this innocent victim. She's not. She saw Diddy as her meal ticket. This is a woman who cheated on her current guy, from what I understand. I haven't followed this thing as closely as other people, but I've learned enough to get the basics. She's cheated on her current dude with Diddy. So she's been a treacherous person the whole time. I just don't get how she's treated as this doll baby figure. I don't get it, other than the fact that she gets pretty privilege. That's it. She gets pretty privilege and, other things too. Man, that's all I got to say about this situation, man.